Where would you like to be? How are you too? I've met you both. I'm Juliet. Yeah.
Rosie's not allowed until May. So you can't. What's the name of it?
Okay, I'm going to be in your pod. So we've been in the car together, so I think that makes us.
Hello. Shabbat shalom. Great. See you.
I'll be here in a second. I'm still seated.
I know some people don't like Well, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I love how no matter where we as Jews gather, nobody likes to sit in the front row. So thank you, Jackie. And thank you, Judy, who's going to come and join you in just a moment, for sitting in the front row. Fantastic. Tonight we are creating a safe community of gathering to welcome Shabbat and to celebrate the blessing of actually being panim el panim, face to face, with masks worn over the mouth and nose, sitting with those whom we have already been together in the same living space, our pod, or bubble, however you define it, socially distant in this outdoor space, but here at our temple, at our home. Tonight we dedicate this space in which we sit, and we invite you who are joining us online via our live stream, via Facebook Live, in the same way as we did during the High Holy Days. We dedicate this place as a mikdash, as a sanctuary, as a place of holiness. In fact, it says to us in this week's Torah portion, in Parashat Kedoshim, Daber el kol adat b'nei Yisrael v'amarta aleihem kadoshim tihiyu kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Speak to the whole community of Israel, the entire Jewish people, and say to them, you shall be holy, for I, Adonai, your God, am holy. This Shabbat, wherever we may be, here together in person, or sitting at home, whether with a friend or family, or with your own sometimes best company. You know who they are, me, myself, and I. May we live up to the idea of being holy, reflecting the Holy One from whom all blessing flows, who dwells within us, amongst us, and most important, between us. Finally, for this to be a holy place and a healthy place, the music from Joyce will be amplified through these speakers. And because it is best practices during the pandemic, the music will be music that hopefully will touch spirits because we hear it and not because we sing. Because singing together, especially in full voice, brings far more risk than conversation, even when we are masked. So when your soul and your spirit demand to hear your voice, please sing softly. If you do feel you want to participate in song. For those of you who are joining us online, it will be helpful to have an old-fashioned pad of paper and something to write with for one of the interactive parts of the service that we'll be doing here in person. Hine Matov, how good it is to be together.
Hine matov alayim shelachim na'achad. Hine matov alayim shelachim na'achad. Hine matov alayim shelachim na'achad. Hine matov
How good it is for brothers and sisters, for all of us to dwell together, Gam Yachad, as if we are one. This common Hebrew and Shabbat song has its source in Psalm 133, verse 1. From a rabbinic teaching on that verse, we can gain an insight on what it means to gather and enjoy the blessing of being panim el panim, face to face. Just as we have created a mishkan for God to dwell among us, so too the rabbis teach that when the Holy One, blessed be God, dwelt in the ancient temple, or in places of holiness and prayer through the centuries, it is as if God is dwelling with us, and together we are called siblings or friends. Together we and God are united and become one. So now I'm going to ask you to turn towards someone, a face you have not seen in person for some time, perhaps not right next to you, but 6 to 8 feet away from you, in another pod or bubble, and in a softer voice, so no one has to shout in order to be heard. Please greet them in a moment in a way that affirms the meaning of Hine Matov and helps to bring the presence of God to fill the space between the two of you. What is the blessing of being able to see each other face to face? And for you who are viewing online, now is the time to use your journal and do a continuous writing exercise. So pick up your pen or pencil and start writing. Let it flow. And do not stop until the music does. And write whatever comes into your mind. Let it flow. What would you be saying? How would you be imagining this conversation? Now go. Write and greet. Bring God between you. Hine Matov.
I was thinking of putting them back on. It's so bright.
Our souls. How good it truly is to be Yachad, together to affirm Echad, oneness and unity, to welcome the singularity into our relationships with one another and into our community. Let me say that again, our unity. We do come together for the purpose of unity. So having welcomed one another and created a place of holiness where God may dwell, let us now welcome Shabbat through metaphor and poetic song. We welcome our beloved Shabbat bride. On your handouts, you'll find L'chadodi, and we rise for the last verse, Boi B'Shalom, and we turn to face our entrance when we get there to bring the Shabbat bride into our midst. What does it mean to be holy? To be holy. Our portion uses the verb tihiyu, be, being, exist. When God engaged in the work of creation, the Torah says that God brought the entire universe into existence. Out of nothing, God created the very notion of beingness. All it took was for God to speak, and what God spoke came into existence. So it was for us as human beings. When God said, "Let us make human beings in our image after our likeness," God created us in the image of God. Male and female, God created us. To be, to exist, let alone to be holy, is an awesome and awe-inspiring task. No less dramatic are the experiences day and night of actually living. Joys and fears, life and death, boring days and exciting ones. So while God asks us to be holy, we ask God to shelter us when the creative light of day gives way to the fearful fall of night's darkness. Let us take some time now to reflect on what it means to each of us to be, to exist, where we exist, how we can be holy in that place, what makes the places in which we dwell holy. So many of us have spent the better part of this last year at home. Some of us are here tonight with a baby step back towards our temple home. Some of you are watching online from your home. Where do you experience holiness? Why there? And how do you describe that feeling of being holy as God instructs us this week in the Torah? Kedoshim tihiyu, you shall be holy.
Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom. V'hamidenu Shoreinu L'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom. V'hamidenu Shoreinu
On your prayer sheet, beneath the ark of the Shema, you will find the words, "This is home," leading directly into the Shema.
This is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song, this is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song, this is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song, this is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song, this is home where I belong. In this breath, in this heart, this is home where I belong. In this voice, in this song. He's
Every encounter with God and every time we bear witness and affirm perhaps the only thing we may truly know about God, which is that God is echad, singular and unique. Such an encounter is a moment of touching eternity. Each Shabbat is said to be a day which offers a glimpse, a hint of that same eternity. So it is that when Shabbat has arrived and we turn toward God and we pray, Adonai Sifetai Tiftach, Adonai, open up my lips, we are reaching for the possibility that this is the moment on this Shabbat that we will experience the possibility how eternity does in fact utter a day through our words, speaking it with our hands, knowing it deeply within our hearts. I invite you to rise and to softly sing with us on the top of the second side of the candle. And then to be seated while the music continues. To look inward and find the spark of eternity that dwells inside of us all.
There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat has arrived in the world, scattering our song in the silence of the night, and eternity honors a day, and eternity honors a day. Adonai, Sepatai, Kitai, Ufi, Yagita, Imataka. Adonai, Sepatai, Kitai, Ufi, Yagita, Imataka. Shalom,
We observe the mitzvah of memory as we remember the recently departed Dick McGinnis, brother of Sue Shapiro, uncle of Elena De Benedetto and Matt Shapiro, David Rasko, son of Eric and Ann Rasko. And on the Shabbat, we remember these loved ones whose yard sites occur this Shabbat and in the week ahead. Robert M. Browdy, Tanya Kubadia, Leona Davis, Evelyn Feldman, Emil Friedman, Sarah Friedman, Shirley Gaffan, Samuel Glass, Ruth Gordon, Abraham Robert, Miriam Kahan, Joyce Kirby, Moshe Lieb, Alter Levine, Joseph Lieberman, George S. Ott, Carl D. Schlitt, Jacob Siegel, Bobby Stevens, and Arlene Verona. If there are loved ones you're remembering, you're on Facebook and would like to share those names in the chat. If you're here with us in person and you're remembering a yard site that was not read and would like to share that name aloud, I invite you to do so now, if you so choose. Zichronam Libracha, may the memories of the righteous be for a blessing. Standing in solidarity with all who mourn, with all who have died, with all who have been stricken by the coronavirus and have died as a result of COVID. On your prayer sheets, the words of Mourner's Cottage, sanctifying the name of God in the face of death, even as we do in life, we say, Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad yivrach v'yoteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayei chom yomei chom, v'chayei b'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman karev v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'borach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. Yitmadar v'yitzareh v'yitzarbal shemei v'yudishav v'yichu. Le'elam in kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran yalma v'yimnu amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemara. Chaim aleinu v'yalko Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'mohav. Huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'yalko Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen. Please be seated. Come together with a sense of hope. Come together with hope that there is increased healing in our country, in our community, in our world. We pray for peace, we pray for blessing. We know that as we move forward in our lives and in our community, that we will have increased opportunities to gather together for prayer, for gathering, for program. Stay tuned. Watch for the e-scrolls and for the scroll. Watch for announcements that are coming that will provide information about those opportunities as we find ways to be outside together, but to gather together safely and as a community, as we rebuild those connections together. There is hope and there is healing, there is peace, and there is blessing. Let us sing quietly together. There is hope. Let's rise.
There is hope, there is healing, there is peace, there is blessing, there is hope, there is healing, water wide, and you can reach the other side. Should your courage run dry, there is hope, there is healing, there is peace, there is blessing, there is hope, there is healing, there is peace, there is blessing. What you try to endure when the future's unsure, believe there's something more. There is hope, there is healing, there is peace, there is blessing, there is hope, there is healing, there is peace, there is blessing. Yesh Tivah, Yesh Refuah, Yesh Shalom, Yesh Refuah. Yesh Tivah, Yesh Refuah, Yesh Shalom, Yesh Refuah. There is hope, there is healing, there is peace, there is blessing, there is hope, there is healing, there is peace, there is blessing, there is hope.
Shabbat Shalom. And Shabbat Shalom to all those who have joined us online as well. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.